Alright guys, I got a 2005 Honda Civic. We're going to be pulling out the dash because it's got a leaking heater core. So the first thing we're going to do, I remove the glove box. There's two, I already did it. There's two 10mm bolts. One's right there. One's right there. The one's on the other side right here, tied underneath. And just remove the glove box. And then I pulled out the side pieces because there's going to be two bolts right there. And then the vents, you just pull out the vent, hold on to the top and bottom snugly and just pull on it. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, here's the other side. Just push this all the way in. And then you grab a hold of it right here. Hard to do with one hand. You see already popping out. There you go. Pops out. And just pops right out there for you. And then we're going to take off the side piece as well. Stick my finger in there. And you just pop it out. Or get a pry tool. And you can pull on it as well. Just be careful because these older cars, the plastic's brittle. Alright, now we're back on this other side. We're going to remove all these screws. This car's missing this screw. But we're still going to remove the other ones. There's one over here. Like I said, we're going to move these two screws on the side behind that panel that we were loosening. And then we're going to do the other thing on the other side. We got to remove the center console as well, which is just a little tab right here. There's two Phillips screws. Where is it? If you can see it, there's one right there, and then one on the side of the seat as well. There's two screws that hold on the shifter, and the whole shifter comes out. So we're going to remove the center console. We're going to remove those screws behind the glove box, and the two screws on this side, as well as the other side. Okay, now that we have the center console removed, you can see a little bit better. There's going to be a screw here, screw over there. We already got the vents out. Next move is to remove the steering wheel, give us a little bit more access. On this model, not all of them are the same, but this model, there's a Phillips screw that goes in there. I already removed it. And then you just pull the airbag out and disconnect the horn plug. And then you remove that bolt, and the steering wheel will pop off. Okay, now that we moved the steering and moved the plastic pieces on the top and bottom, which is just three Phillips screws, we're going to take this out so we can get the dash out without breaking the stocks. Okay, and that just all comes out as one assembly, which is just taking that screw right there, that Phillips screw out right there, and this should all slide out. So we'll go ahead and try to see if I can get that. No, that ain't going to get in there. Let me get a screwdriver and we can do that. Okay, so we just loosen that screw out. You don't have to take it all the way out. And this should all slide out and slide off. So we'll just undo those plugs and get this out of the way, and we'll move on to the next step, which will be removing this, which there should be two Phillips screws right there, and we'll get the dash out of the way. Alright, now that you see that we got the bezel out, there's three screws that hold in the actual gauge cluster. One there, one on the other side, and then one up top. If you release those, you can drop the cover out. There's two plugs, and you can get the dash out. Next thing that we do is we want to disconnect these plugs. There should be a screw right there. Loosen that screw. You can pop this down a little bit and unplug them. As well as we're going to get rid of this, which there should be two screws right there. After we remove the center console, you can access them. Remove those and this should pop out. There's also a screw there, but this one's missing it. And then you can disconnect the plug for the cigarette lighter. So we're going to remove that, and we're going to remove the plugs for this. Okay, so we got that out. There's a couple light bulbs you twist out, and then one for the lighter that has a light, and then the plug for the cigarette lighter. And then, like I said, this just, once you get that screw out, you can just kind of pull this down and pull the plugs out, stick them back there so they don't get stuck. Now we're gonna try to get the radio and the AC controls out. Now if you look underneath here, there should be 2 bolts and they're gone. So that somebody already took them out, probably because of the aftermarket radio. But if you take those 2 bolts out, if you're still factory, that holds in the frame for the radio. And then you can take a pry tool and this whole unit should pop out. And then unplug all the plugs. Get that out of the way. Alright, once you get that radio out and everything, there's a couple screws. So there's one there, one there, one down here. It's not even screwed in. Nice. And then there's some on the back side, it looks like, for this frame. So there's one right there and one on the other side. Now there's a couple down here. I don't think I'd have to take those out though, because it should be all attached. But let's get those out and then I'll let you know how it goes. Alright, so I pulled that side A-pillar out. I'm going to pull this A-pillar out too on this side. I didn't pull these out on the back side because they're attached, but I did pull the one on the back side. It's going into the metal frame, as well as the 2 up here and the one in the middle down here, and the one on the back side on this side, which is right here on the back side. You can get to it with the short Phillips screwdriver. Now we should have to disconnect. The airbag should be bolted. I guess this car doesn't have an airbag. If it has an airbag, you should have bolts holding the airbag to the metal frame, but this car does not have an airbag. Alright, I started removing it and I got those bolts out. And this side's pretty loose, and then I started pulling on this side and it's stuck, and I found there's one more bolt right here on the back side. So we're gonna remove that and see. I mean, it looks pretty loose, so it should come out after that, but I'll let you know. Like I said, there's one right here on the back side. There's also one over here on the back side, on this side of the steering wheel. Down here, somewhere. Over here that you'll find it. There's another one on the back side. Once you remove those, I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this out of here. Yeah, see, that's it. It's out. Now I'm gonna pull this out and I'll get back to you and see what's underneath it. Okay, now gets to the tricky part. So we're gonna remove this brace right here, which is just a couple 8mm. All right, and then we're gonna remove this bolt right here, and on the other side we're gonna remove these 2 bolts, and then there's 3 bolts on this side. Same on the back side. You get it from this side. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, but you're gonna remove these 8mm bolts and get this metal frame out. You're gonna remove these bolts. You're gonna remove the 3 bolts on this side. It holds in this metal bar, brace bar. You're gonna remove this bolt and this bolt. You're also going to remove, there's a bolt down here. It's actually a nut. One down here, nut. And then there should be a bolt somewhere. Oh, here you go. And you're gonna remove this bolt. And then it looks like one's already removed on that side over there. Okay, and that's gonna remove the kit. And there's gonna be bolts once you move this out of the way, which you're probably gonna have to disconnect some wires. 100% you're gonna have to disconnect those plugs. My guess is you're gonna have to disconnect those plugs on the computer as well. A lot of plugs and a lot of bolts, but first thing I'm gonna do is remove the bolts and see if I can move this frame a little bit out of the way. I'm guessing I'll probably have to drop the steering as well, which is just a bolt here, a bolt back there, and then the same thing on the other side. There's gonna be a nut and a bolt, and this should just drop down and give us a little bit more slack to move this frame out of the way. So we're gonna move the bolts and try moving the frame and see what kind of plugs we get stuck on. Okay, so I had to loosen these 2 bolts, loosen those 3. Oh, let me get up there and show you. Loosen those 3 right there. 2 on top, 1 on the bottom, comes from this side. I unplugged these plugs. Okay, so this moves by itself. I did drop the steering, the 4 bolts. Drop the steering out of the way. Try to disconnect the harness from it. which is just those plugs, all the plugs, so you can drop it out of the way. Remove the bolt on this side, same on this side. Okay, it gives you room to move the metal bar. I didn't remove the whole metal bar because you gotta take a lot of wiring off, so I didn't do any of that. Once you move the bar out of the way, you can get the fan box out, which you just disconnect all the wires, everything that's connected to this side and the fan box. You have to remove the computer, which is right there. Remove the plugs. Okay, the computer bolts. There's one nut, bolt, bolt. They're hard to get to, but once you move this frame out of the way, you can squeeze in there and get it. There's a bolt right here for the fan. You also have a bolt here on the bottom, as well as one over here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's one right there too that you have to remove. And there's one right there on that little tab. You remove all of those, you can get the fan out, the fan motor box out. And now we still need to get to this. So what I'm gonna do is disconnect all the wiring out of it, see what bolts are connected to the fire hall, which I already see one down there. I see one up here, and one up there. So I'm gonna remove those. Also, if you come out to the front of the car, you have to disconnect the water lines and the AC lines, which I already did. I removed the air filter box to give me more access. Remove the two water hoses. Remove the AC, which already drained the AC. Okay, and then there's a nut right here. There's a nut. It's a 12mm nut right there next to the water valve that is holding the box inside as well. So I removed that. So 12mm nut right there next to the water valve. Remove the water hoses. Remove the AC. Lower the steering. Disconnect all of the wiring that goes to the air box, fan box, and all the bolts holding in the safety crash bar, so you can get it all out of the way. And now we're going to work on getting the box out. And that took out the box. So like I said, you just take those bolts out and you start pulling this bar out, and you start seeing all the plugs that are connected. So you just start disconnecting plug after plug. You basically end up unplugging the whole thing, basically. Anything that's connected to the chassis. Anything that's connected to the chassis to the bar harness, you disconnect it, and you can just pull the whole bar out. I just have it laid in there, but that bar would just come out. So you don't have to unplug everything off of the bar. You just basically unplug everything from the chassis that plugs into the bar. And then you take out the fan, which gives you the fan box, which gives you more room to take out the AC box, HVAC unit. Like I said, there's that one stud, which you can see the hole where the stud goes. And that's it. Also, you have to take off that the cable that connects to the heater valve on the outside. And it all comes out. And that's that.